Say 100 years ago, they probably would have just left me on the mountain. I went from the guy that didn't want to go anywhere and didn't want to meet anybody to now I'm the guy chasing people down in parking lots. So I literally took this map almost everywhere I went to different spinal cord injury events, and I had people put pins in the map. 7,000 people in Washington State, and we're at 10% of that. So the question is, where is everybody else? Yeah. I remember when I first woke up in the hospital, I thought all my dreams were disappearing as quickly as I could dream them up. Like traveling the country, dancing at my wedding, and becoming a dad. I thought that was
it's no longer
not possible. Not at all. And but then to be in the operating room when they did the C-section on my not so little 12-pound baby. I don't know. Had I not been injured, I might have just been working a 9-to-5 job that I didn't really enjoy. But this has given me, from meeting Dan and getting a cushion, meeting Ian and getting a new way to use my computer. I always say that the next person I meet might change my life or somebody else's life. An immeasurable sense of purpose and meaning. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
上一集我们回到了 Candy 最黑暗的6年，绝望、疼痛、自责和身份重塑，每一刻都是挑战。在这一集，我们要聊聊他的重生。身体依旧受限，但他找到了前行的理由。亲人的陪伴、病友的互助，还有科技带来的便利，让他慢慢找到了继续前行的力量。他把这份力量延伸给别人，创办了 Here and Now Project， 在华盛顿州帮助了数百名脊髓损伤患者和家庭，带去希望和行动的可能。今天我们要看看他如何在浴火重生后，和他的缪斯妻子和5岁的宝贝女儿一起，继续书写丰盛而幸福的人生。Was there any specific moment or person or anything from people around you that give you the strength or make the change?
For sure. I mean, it was a combination of things. You know, the lawsuit was wrapping up, but then I actually had one of my nurses from rehab wander back into my life. Her name was Kristen, and we had grown up in adjacent towns, and she was kind of my saving grace in the hospital. She was 21 when I was injured, and I was 23, and we just struck up a really good friendship and real camaraderie. And she kind of wandered back into my life right as I was trying to get healed from that latest pressure sore. And we figured out it was more than just friends. Kind of fell in love, and that kind of took my whole life in another trajectory that I could see, a potential future. And it actually just so happened that we went to go meet her dad and stepmom at a Kiwanis fundraiser. It was in January of 2010 that, we were, hanging with her family just at a wine and, fundraiser. And up rolls this guy in a power wheelchair. His name was Dan McConnell, and he was about 60 years old at the time. And he'd been paralyzed in 1970 when he was 19, and his girlfriend Gail was 17. And, they just went out and did life because nobody told them they couldn't, and got married a year later. And here was this couple that had been together for 40 years and had traveled all over the country. And that kind of became a model for Kristen and I. And and the real benefit was when he asked me what I did for fun, and I told him I was battling the pressure sore, and he told me about a cushion that he was sitting on that was a custom molded kind of alternate seating and positioning device. It's called Ride Designs seating, and that wound up getting me healed. So it was meeting him, that chance encounter that proved life-changing. And the frustrating thing was that cushion existed since before I got hurt, but nobody had told me about it.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened my eyes, the idea that I might want to hang out with other folks that they might know something I need to know. Once I finally got healed from that pressure sore, Kristen and I really, felt like we were on borrowed time, that we'd missed 6 years that we could have been together. And so we moved out within a few months, got an apartment not far from my folks' place. And it was kind of a whirlwind love affair as we tried to, find other people in chairs and just kind of figure out our life. Unfortunately, she struggled with alcohol and drug addiction. And we kind of went down a rabbit hole with her disease and her addiction. And so she struggled, and then I struggled, my health sort of deteriorated as I focused more and more on her drinking and using, and I got myself into trouble, and then we ended up losing her about 2 years into the relationship to an accidental overdose. But the gift was that she got introduced me to the 12-step communities that they call themselves the fellowships of mutual aid, where you get to meet other people that are dealing with similar things. And that wound up getting me it proved to be my saving grace. And so that was a kind of, you go from finally making it out of one hole to finding myself in a whole other hole all over again. And it was actually about 8 months after Kristen passed that Dan and I reconnected with another quadriplegic. Actually, it's in the photo right above my shoulder here. There's a group of 7 of us on the wall. That one right there.
That one, right?
Mm-hmm. There were 7 of us sitting under a tent, and that was kind of the spark that gave me the idea for what has now become a nonprofit that I now run. There were 7 of us sitting under a tent telling different versions of the same story. I met another individual, guy by the name of Ian Mackay, who told me about a joystick mouse that kind of revolutionized how I use my computer, and got me back to some of my engineering roots. I was able to, video game again, and then I was able to
you can do video games?
Oh, yeah.
With just your head?
Yeah, just with my mouth and a sip and puff straw. But then I could use it also for kind of computer-aided design. So I redrew my whole backyard for a remodel, and I drew up cabinets for my bedroom. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, but it was that idea that, the next person you meet might know something that could change your life. And it went from 7 of us under that tent, and it's grown to almost 750 people in the greater Pacific Northwest. And the picture below the group of 7 of us is actually our 2019 meetup, where I think we had about 65 people in chairs and their families there. And
so you're talking about the Here and Now project?
Yep. That was the spark that launched the Here and Now project.
So it started, which year was it?
That was 2012, that first barbecue. Yeah, it started kind of formally a year later. Actually, this map that's in the picture frame, I found a website called ihadcancer.com that was just a Google map that was searchable by age, location, diagnosis, relationship. And it was, people's like, hey, I live here and this is the kind of cancer I had. And I was like, well, I want one of those for spinal cord injuries. And so I literally took this map almost everywhere I went to different spinal cord injury events. And I had people put pins in the map. And I said, I want to know where you live and what your contact information is. And then 2014 was kind of our first official event that we got a barn in Fife that had been refurbished, and I think we had 28 folks in chairs from like C1 level injuries with people that are on ventilators full time, all the way down to kind of T11, which is low paraplegia, but it was 355 years of spinal cord injury experience under one roof. And now it's expanded to support meetings all up and down I-5. We've got, we're from Sequim area on the peninsula all the way over to Wenatchee. And we bring backpacks and care packs to the newly injured at the hospitals now too. So,
yeah, that's awesome. What inspired you to start this Here and Now project?
Well, I called it the Here and Now project because everybody was so focused on the cure. after I was injured. Everybody was really focused on stem cell research and any other kind of avenues of the cure. And I chased, doing some exercise therapies and really was trying to wait out a cure. But 20 years later, we're getting closer, but I'm obviously still in my chair. And and so I always had that kind of name of, here and now instead of, wishing for some sort of cure. And it's just about getting what I call knee to knee with people that have been where you've been and seeing what I can learn or what I might be able to share with other people. From meeting Dan and getting a cushion, meeting Ian and getting a new way to use my computer, I always say that like the next person I meet might change my life or somebody else's life. And so I always say I went from the guy that didn't want to go anywhere and didn't want to meet anybody to now I'm the guy chasing people down in parking lots. And I mean, we do that on the regular where I've got a business card and I'm like, hey man, this is what we're up to. If you want to come check us out, kind of thing. So.
Yeah. This is so cool.
I found a African proverb that we use a lot that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I
love that.
It's so much easier. Like you get to benefit from all the hard-earned lessons of people trying something and it not working, but then finding a manageable solution, whether it's to bladder management or a new way to use your wheelchair. But you don't have to suffer all the same setbacks. And so, it's become, quite a passion project over the last 10 plus years. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like collective genius.
Yeah, it's kind of like a crowdsourcing. And,
right.
Yeah, because we live in such a hyper-connected world these days that there's no reason for people to be as isolated as they are. Yeah. But with that said, we're seeing that people are getting isolated even more, due to the decreased rehab times. So people, now they're discharging people instead of sending people home. A lot of people are winding up in skilled nursing facilities or adult family homes where the care is like a step down. And it makes it really hard for people to make those transitions. I think the latest numbers that came out for spinal cord injuries alone in 2023 said that about 18,000 people are hurt every year in the U.S. And that works out to just under 500 people in Washington state. And as of 2025, we're reaching about a quarter of that through our partnerships with area hospitals. And the same thing, the same study said, I think there's about 302,000 people living in the U.S. with a spinal cord injury, and that works out to about 7,000 people in Washington state. And we're at 10% of that. So the question is, where is everybody else?
Yeah.
And, are they stuck in a home like I was? Because, when I first was at home battling those pressure sores, my mom would go up to University of Washington has a spinal cord injury forum where they'd go talk about different topics and research and all those things. Well, my mom would go there and she would only see individuals in manual wheelchairs. She'd never really see somebody as high as my level. So it was kind of like, well, if there's nobody out there like Kenny, why go? But then my nurses would come to dress my wounds and look at my skin, and my mom would ask, like, do you see anybody like Kenny out there? And they'd be like, well, we've got 9 in this county. And so, like, there's people that are in little pockets all over, at least the Pacific Northwest and all over the country. And, now our job is to try to catch them where they are. And, and then we added virtual components in 2020 during the pandemic. And that's kind of opened up our reach quite a bit. We're getting people calling in directly from their hospital beds not long after their injury, or but now we're having individuals from Hawaii and Alaska and Montana and Idaho that are kind of calling into our Zoom meetings as well. So
that's great. So for normal people, we might be easy to travel, right?
Yep.
To meet up.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
For people on wheelchair, how hard is it? Can you tell?
It's very difficult because getting this almost 500-pound wheelchair around is not easy.
500 pounds.
500 pounds without me in it.
Without.
Right? And the challenge there is I've got to have a wheelchair accessible van with a ramp that can take me from place to place, but those things are not cheap. They can be upwards of $70,000 to $120,000 for a brand new vehicle, and unless you've got your own means of funds, or there's some nonprofits out there that will help you get loans, but that's a big hurdle for a lot of people to get from point A to point B. And but there's like lots of local county resources like access buses, but even then that they are stretched pretty thin and can only take you so far.
Right.
So
specific time, like fixed times.
Fixed windows.
Stops.
So you've got, they'll pick you up 2 hours before your appointment and maybe drop you off 2 hours after your appointment.
Right.
So it poses lots of hurdles for people to get together. And that's why we are trying to do our best just to give people some source of connection.
So looking forward, what kind of impact do you hope the project have?
Well, it's about at least giving somebody the opportunity to connect and see that they're not alone.
Yeah.
I know whenever I visit folks that are newly injured in the hospital, I'll give them my card and I say, look, if I don't hear from you for 9 years, I get it, because I wasn't ready early on. But I always say we're going to keep building it for you when you are ready. And we've seen that happen, more often than not, people come around within a year or so, or a couple of years. But we've had some members that took 9-10 years after I met them to kind of circle back to our community, because it's, only they can decide whether or not they find value in having a community. But it seems like we're getting a pretty solid contingent here in Washington. So.
Do you physically meet them in the hospital?
Yeah. So right now we do visits directly in the hospital. Like Monday, I think we delivered 2 care packs to University of Washington hospital and two packs to Harborview. And I'd like people to see that they're not alone with their struggles. And right now we're building kind of an external peer support system where we're training up. I think we've got close to 20 of our members that have what we call their own experience, strength, and hope to offer people, because there's a lot of us out there that are living full, rich, meaningful lives. I was able to remarry a few years after Kristen passed. I met Claire 11 years ago.
Yeah.
We've been together ever since. We've been married for 7 years, and we got a little 5-year-old running around just like your little one. And and there's lots of people out there that are living and thriving that can offer some solutions and just some camaraderie and hopefully a little bit of hope for people.
Awesome. How do you find Claire?
She actually interviewed to be on my caregiving team. It was July of 2014. So she had started working for me for a few months, and but a few months later, she kind of was putting me to bed one day, and she just said, I have a secret. If you weren't my boss, I might want to date you. And so the next morning I emailed her. I'm like, so you're fired? Is that how this works? And and there it was, that kind of kicked things off. Yeah, we've been doing life together ever since. And yeah, she's been a real kind of soulmate that's helped me kind of find a lot of those goals that I wanted to chase down. Right around that 10-year mark, she was there for a lot of it, and is now we've pulled her in to work for the nonprofit and use her skills too. So,
So you have been married for 10 years? Or?
7 years. Coming up on 8. May of 26 will be 8 years. Yeah, we were married in May of 2018, and our little girl was born October of 2020.
Yeah, and she's so adorable.
Well, thank you. They're a handful.
So yeah, but like after going through all those life-altering experiences, what does love mean to you?
What does love mean to you? It's one of my good friends that married Claire and I said, love is always in action. It's showing up for people. It's it's not all puppy dogs and pixie dust, as the early stages of love. Because I think it takes all sorts of forms. Because my parents will readily admit that they probably didn't do everything to my advantage when they brought me home. My mom and I have talked about a bit of her enabling my depression while I was in those early years, but you don't know what you don't know, kind of thing. And they brought me home. And that's what I always say is they fought for me until I could learn to fight for myself.
Do you feel better at home too?
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it's your own space.
Oh man, and it's that's where I've been so fortunate. I've always said what I've lacked in physical recovery, I've made up with family support, because
you want to hide in a shell.
Oh yeah, well, and they kept me healthy and protected enough until I could find the means to climb out of the hole myself with the help of others too. And
what helped you and Claire get through hard times?
Claire's taught me that we can have hard conversations, recognize that we may not ever always align on things, but we always have a larger goal in mind. We've really learned to communicate really well. She's taught me a lot about kind of emotional fluency, kind of understanding the languages of the heart, I think especially men will get in the mode that we are constantly trying to fix problems and recognizing that sometimes people just want to be heard and don't need fixed right away.
Yes.
And I've learned to, give space when it's needed rather than trying to just hammer something in and fix it. I think we've really become a really good team in how we balance each other out. That's why I call her my muse these days.
How do you feel when you first become a daddy?
Oh my goodness. It was jarring. I remember when I first woke up in the hospital, I thought all my dreams were disappearing as quickly as I could dream them up. Traveling the country, dancing at my wedding, and becoming a dad. I thought that was...
thought it's no longer
not possible. Not at all. And but then to be in the operating room when they did the C-section on my not so little 12-pound baby.
12 pounds.
Yes, she was a 12-pound little girl, my little Scandinavian princess. And but now, and to flash forward to see her 5 years old, and to see her as a fascinating mix of both Claire and I. She's got all of Claire's emotional fluency and all of my physicality. Yeah, she's a lot of fun, and it's very fulfilling becoming a parent.
What have you learned from being a parent?
Holy moly. I had a caregiver's, I think, brother give me a quote that says that it doesn't get easier, it just gets different. And so, recognizing the cliche, the days are long and the years are short. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and especially when you've got something, it's like your heart is outside of your body, watching. Well, it's, you want to be so protective of them and try to eliminate all pain from them. But that's sometimes the only way we learn lessons too. The majority of times, nothing too disastrous happens. But, and that's kind of the lesson that I get to bring forward, that, even some of the darker times have, can have larger purpose over the long run. There's actually a scene in an old movie called Father of the Bride with Steve Martin. It was kind of in the early 90s. And there's a scene that I really try to kind of dwell on, that his daughter comes home from Paris. She's like 20 years old, and they're sitting at the dining table, and she's like, Dad, I met someone in Paris and I'm getting married. And he like blinks and it changes to her as a 5-year-old saying the same thing. And he's like, and then he shakes his head again. She's 20. And it's like, I know that's how fast it goes.
Yeah.
You know, because like, you know, she's 5 now. Well, that's a quarter of the way to 20. And I have nieces now. My sister's kids are 23, 20, and 16. And so, yeah, I've got kind of a preview of how fast it goes.
Yes.
My goal is just, I want to be there for that opportunity if it does arise. If, you know, if that's in the cards for her, I'd be super excited for it.
Great. What are the gifts you want to give her?
Well, you know, that you can struggle with things and still find purpose, probably, right? I really focused on an engineering degree and getting a job and all these things, thinking that those would be the answers to happiness. Yeah. I'm hoping I can instill a little bit more flexibility because she's a super creative kid. I think injecting the resilience that comes with hopefully modeling that you can do hard things. And I've seen it in my nieces as well, that they've got like just a greater sense of empathy than I had. Because they've been exposed to people with disabilities that I never had a frame of reference to, you know, disabled life. Yep. And I'm sure there's going to be kind of some negative ramifications of, you know, being in this situation for her as well. And, you know, it's just about recognizing those and understanding that we're all doing the best. I can show how I drive it, you know, so yeah, I've got just switches in my headrest here. So the switches.
How did you trigger this?
Yeah, so there's buttons on my cheek. So this button here is a power switch, and this button here changes my modes. And then the side switches up on the top of the headrest are how I turn. And then if I want to drive forward, I just hold back on my switch, and then I lift to stop. So then now I can hit the button and put it in reverse, and now I'm back in reverse. Yep. Yeah.
And what's this for?
This is a water bottle that you know, I've learned to drink a lot of water these days to keep the UTIs at bay. So I drink about 5 liters of water, and this is another thing that we usually give out to folks with the nonprofit. I always say it's a good nose scratcher and a head scratcher as well. So.
Oh, okay. And do you have 2 screens? Like one is for your phone?
Yep, one's just my phone, which I can fully control with headset switches as well, and the other one's just kind of shows me what mode I'm in for my chair, whether I'm in tilt or which speed I'm in, all those things. The Apple platforms on all cell phones, so I can turn my headrest switches into switches that can control the phone itself, but then I can also talk to the phone, you know, whether it's dictation or getting through any of the apps. I can basically use a phone similar to how anybody else does with functioning hands, all by voice or by switch. So that's one of the cool byproducts that came out of the Here and Now project was, you know, a couple of our members kind of stumbled upon this, and one individual, Ian, one of my best friends, has played a real instrumental role working with Apple and helping to develop them. We were clamoring for access to smartphones for about 10 years, and you know, now flash forward another decade after we kind of stumbled upon the first iteration of it, the things that Ian has done with Apple is nothing short of remarkable, and it's proved game-changing for people with disabilities all over the world. He works with both their switch control and voice control teams. And he does a lot of the troubleshooting and kind of behind the scenes debugging and stuff. So he's put a tremendous amount of hours into you know, making everybody's lives easier, which is pretty cool.
And thanks to the technology, that makes people's life easier.
It is. And that's what, you know, they told me 20 years ago. They're like, if any time's a good time to be paralyzed, it's now, because, you know, at the time they thought the cure was coming. But I always say the technological piece has been a way bigger breakthrough. I mean, my whole home is automated. I can, you know, unlock my front door. I can operate lights and blinds and fans, and the thermostat
So you can go out anytime by yourself.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got automatic door openers that I can open. It makes it really easy to move through the world these days, even though, yeah, I'm still sitting on this robot that drags me all over the place. But, you know, I always say 100 years ago, they probably would have just left me on the mountain. You know, but now...
And let the tiger eat you.
Yeah, something. Yeah, you never know. But now to be able to travel all over the country like I do meaningful work, I don't know. Had I not been injured, I might have just been working a 9-to-5 job that I didn't really enjoy. But this has given me an immeasurable sense of purpose and meaning. And yeah, I get to hopefully do a little bit to relieve a little bit of the suffering that's going on out there. So
great.
cool.
Thank you very much, Kenny.
No, thanks for having me. This was fun.